Welcome to the New Flat Rate Podcast, a thriving place to talk about how to get things right in your service company. Today we have a very special guest, Dominic Rubino, serial entrepreneur and a wizard for contractors who need help fixing their profit leaks. Today's episode focuses on great tips on how to find and hire techs and employees for your service business. And now, your host, Danielle Putnam, president of the New Flat Rate, entrepreneur and philanthropist.
Dominic, which do you prefer?
I only get called Dominic when I'm in trouble from my mom. So call me Dom.
We'll go with Dom.
Go with
and
Dom.
With that, Dom, who the heck are you and why are you with us today?
Wow, that's a strong question. Okay, so who the heck am I? I'm nobody, first of all, but I am a specialist in construction and construction trades, whether it's residential or commercial. I host 2 podcasts in the construction trades business, but I'm also a business owner. So I'm not a talking head, some guy that wrote a book or some guy that, just has a podcast. I've built and sold a couple of my own businesses as well. I had a couple of really great failures. Those are fun to talk about. Yeah. And a couple of really great successes.
Okay. Can you give us just a snippet of a failure and a success? I mean,
I guess I opened it up. Yeah, didn't I? So one of the failures I had is that in 2 of my past businesses, I've had business partners. You know what I've come to learn, Danielle?
What's that?
I don't like having business partners.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Today we're talking to residential contractors all across the United States and Canada.
Yeah.
And a lot of them have business partners.
I know, and a lot are family businesses, which one of my companies, I grew to 120 million in sales. So that's incredible. A significant company, and we had 140 staff. It was a big company. The takeaway from that is money's a magnifier. So who we were when we were poor and broke and barely scraping together money to buy coffee, like at the coffee shop versus the broken burner at the back of our office, got magnified when we had a lot of money, and the values that we didn't align on when we were small and broke just turned into these massive shining lights when we were big. And I keep seeing that in family businesses, and I recognize it because I've been in those. I've made those mistakes myself.
I feel like that's not talked about enough openly, that the problems we have when we're small are magnified when we're big, and we all want to grow. And we create this culture. We all go to trade shows and conferences and hang out in the best practices groups of, hey, let's try to be as awesome as that guy on stage, or let's, all create these huge companies, but we haven't fixed the problems that we have today, right?
Yeah.
So
and it was
taking the
simple
time
stuff.
to fix.
It was simple things that we didn't align on. And it sounds so business coachy to say we didn't align on values, but we did not align on values, on what I thought was important, what were go and no-go items. And I'll bet you if my partner, my cousin, was being interviewed right now, he'd probably say the same thing.
Really?
I imagine. I have no idea why. I'm perfect, but
Right. Totally.
I would imagine that if he was that able to look back with honesty, he'd recognize that that's where and we're from the same family.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Anyways, that's one of my failures and my successes, I guess, wrapped up in one.
Well, yeah, I would definitely think that that's successful. Growing to 120 million in revenue, I would consider that a success.
Yeah. It was certainly nice to ring the bell, as they call it.
Totally. Thanks for sharing that. Today, we are talking about creative recruiting. And as I'm sure you're very much aware, there's this national hiring crisis, not only in the trades, but everywhere. Everybody's saying, hey, we can't find talent. You go to the local restaurants, there's, signs on the doors that say, please be patient with our staff. We're in the national, that's how I knew it was a national crisis, because the signs on the door, it's a national hiring crisis. I was like, oh, I just thought trades, but no, everybody. And, we're having this hard time finding people, but yet there are people all over the place. They didn't all die. So
why and how and what?
Yeah. Let's talk about creative recruiting.
So it's I'm glad you recognize that, because it is a challenge, and it doesn't matter where. I mean, I was just at my physio's office, physiotherapy office this morning, and my physio said I had the hardest time getting the tires on my truck installed right, because they didn't get balanced. When you go over 100, suddenly it starts to wobble. And I said, I think it's because of the job shortage. We're happy to get whoever we can. We're throwing bodies at the problem so that, and this, we're not even talking about construction trades. We're talking about changing tires on a truck, right? Mm-hmm. But it's the same everywhere. It's hard to find good people. If I'm oversharing a bit, we might be a little bit afraid of our people because we don't want them to quit. So
please harp on that. Say that again. No, I'm serious. I hear it all the time. Nobody wants to change their culture. They don't want to change their rules. They don't want to change anything in their business because they might lose their people. They don't want to disrupt the ship. They don't want their people to leave. I hear it very often.
Yeah, as do I. But you know what? I have to set the rules. Because if I don't set the rules, somebody else in the company will set the rules for me. And there's usually a social leader, somebody who's not necessarily the manager or the supervisor or somebody in the office it has a leadership title. There's somebody else in the company who might actually be running your company or my company.
There was a farmer who sold a pound of butter to a baker. One day, the baker weighed the butter to see if he was getting the right amount, which he wasn't. Angry about this, he took the farmer to court. The judge asked if the farmer was weighing the butter before he sold it to the baker. The farmer replied, "Your Honor, long before the baker started buying butter from me, I have been buying a pound loaf of bread from him. Every day when the baker brings the bread, I put it on the scale and give him the same weight in butter. If anyone is to be blamed, it is the baker." If you like stories like that, stay tuned at the end of the podcast for Storytime with TNFR, where we tell real stories about contractors in the field.
So I actually took advantage of this once. We had some murmurings amongst my staff that they wanted to, I don't even want to say the word, they wanted to come together under a collective party and have one representative who would represent them to the office. Can I say that? And everybody understands what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they were all going to get little pins and badges. And that other third party was going to take a piece of their check every month. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. So I had a murmuring that was going to happen. And so I knew who the social leader was in my company. We had 120 staff. Yeah. And so there were different cliques. It was like a high school, Danielle.
Wow.
Right? You could just tell. But I knew enough about who was down there. So I knew one of the people and when they would take the break. So I went downstairs when I knew she was taking a break and I'm making a coffee and she walks in because I know what her break time is because it's scheduled. She's like, "Hey, Dom, how's it going?" I'm like, "It's good." Well, did her radar go on, right? She's like, "Dom, what's wrong?" And I'm like, no matter how hard we try, people just, they don't seem to appreciate it. I mean, the world is changing. We can do so many things overseas and people just don't appreciate what we do here. Sometimes I shouldn't be bugging you this, but it's frustrating when we try so hard and people don't recognize it. Maybe we just have to change the way we run the company. Anyways, tinkle, tinkle in my coffee, stir, stir, and I'll talk to you later. Upstairs I go. With the instant messenger in our company. "Hey, Dom, wanted to thank you for everything you do. You guys bring in lunch every second Friday. That's awesome." Because before people were complaining, "Oh, fajitas again."
Yeah, totally.
We were bringing in food on the alternating payday Friday, and they started to complain that it was getting boring. So we nipped that one in the bud. The other one I had to deal with was the people who went outside to smoke, but that's another story. It's the same story, just done a different way.
Yeah. Interesting. So there's a social leader of your business, and I bet everybody listening knows who that is. If it's not themselves, I bet they can identify who that person is.
Yeah. Yeah. And the fact is, if you're the owner of the company, if you're listening to Danielle's show, the New Flat Rate show, you're the owner or you're the decision maker, you got to step up and be the leader. And if my job as the business coach and your unreasonable friend is to remind you of that, then that's my job, just like it's your job.
Right. And that circles directly back to where we're often scared to make changes or implement things in our business because people might leave. And as the leader, it's your job to grow the business, take care of the business, secure the business, and you can't be afraid and held hostage by your employees.
That's right. Yeah. There's a joke we have in business coaching, which kind of comes across when you're talking to a potential new client. And they're like, "Dom, I don't want to train my people. What if I put all this money into them and they leave?" Right? What if I put all this time and energy into them and they leave? And then the answer back, and if you ever hear this, it's a standard answer from people.
I've heard it. What if you put all that money into them and they stay?
That's right. Yeah. What if you don't put the money and they stay?
Yeah.
Right? What would be worse?
Yeah.
I have to stand. I heard this from some rancher friends of mine years ago. If I stand for nothing, I'll fall for anything. And so my company needs to stand for something and represent something. And I might ruffle a few feathers, but I'll tell you what, people like working in a tightly run team. They don't want to live in chaos. Chaos is for other parts of their life, but where they work should be a finely tuned machine.
Yeah, it should. So how can we find and recruit creatively more people if we want to grow? Let's say we just need a couple. Well, I mean, maybe we need a technician. Let's start with the specialty.
Yeah, actually, a technician's a great place to start. So, Danielle, I talk a lot about simple systems because none of this has to be complicated. Anybody who talks in double talk about business improvement is not coming at it from a real place. So the first thing I want everybody to understand, and by the way, they feel free to challenge me on this, but I want everybody out there to think about your employees as a second customer. A second customer, right? So if we were short a couple of customers, we would say we need to get some marketing, or we need to, be really tight on our estimates to make sure we win that next job because we need more business. Well, think about one service technician in a van. How much is one person in one van worth in our industry?
A lot. Sometimes $1 million a year. Sometimes 250,000 a year.
Yeah. So there's a range there, but there's a number that we can define, right? So just for the sake of it, let me say I could say 2,000. Let's just say 1,000 a day. And some people will say, well, that's too low. And others will say, well, that's crazy high. It's just a number. Do your own math, right? But if one service technician in one van is worth $1,000 a day in sales, and we're open 250 days a year, that is $250,000 we're missing because we didn't go recruit that person. So when people come back and say, well, Dom, I don't want to put an ad on Craigslist or Indeed, it's very expensive.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I will give you the award for throwing nickels like they're manhole covers.
Yeah.
You're being cheap in the wrong place.
It's like we can't go do any marketing because we don't have any money. Being cheap in the wrong place. Interesting.
Yeah.
And so we have to market for our people and actually do a process to be recruiting and marketing for those recruits.
That's right. And we have to get creative because before we need them, as we need them, and then everybody else is recruiting for people as well. They're putting an ad on Indeed. But something I learned about Indeed, and I learned this through guests on my show, is that go look at how Amazon is hiring in your city and go look at how they're putting ads on Indeed or Craigslist or Facebook, wherever these public marketplaces are for hiring. They'll post ads 3, 4, 5 times a day because the top ad gets read.
Are they doing the same ad over and over, or just
same ad or variations of? But no matter what, Amazon wants to show up at the top. So if I want to compete for that type of staff, what am I doing? Like, we have a pizza chain where I live that now has $1,000 signing bonus. It's a pizza chain, but they're trying to compete with Amazon, who says no resume, no problem.
Yeah.
That's where we are right now. We can complain about it all we want, but the reality is that's what happened. And so we've got to we have to get creative. So my first thing on creative recruiting is go look at your Indeed budget or Craigslist. I have no shares in Indeed or Craigslist or Facebook. Otherwise, I would not be on the show. No offense. Now coming to you from the Bahamas, Dominic Rubino.
Awesome.
But go ahead and set yourself a budget. And whatever your budget is, that's your budget. That's fine. But try to be at the top of that listing a couple times a day.
That's a really great idea and so simple. And so if you're listening today, definitely write that down. And what that says, Dom, is that we have to be very proactive with this. Here's what I see is, as business leaders, it's very easy to fall into the seat of, I need to hire, and I put a job ad up when maybe 3 months ago. So today I'm whining around the coffee cooler or out at the coffee shop or with my buddies. I'm whining about the fact that I can't find anybody. But if you really ask me to be super honest, am I actively recruiting today? I feel like the answer is no. And so are we whining?
Let's admit right now, it's hard being a business owner. So many things are important. And you're going to hear, oh, this is the first thing you've got to do. And this is the other first thing you've got to do. And there's a huge list of first things you got to do. But I have to wave the flag for my service company before anybody else will see the flag. And so, yes, I have to be, if I see a great server at a restaurant, have you thought about being a service tech? Have you ever thought about going to service school? Have you ever thought about customer service inside a company? You're not on your feet all day, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, some of them are going to say no. Guess what? Some of them will do. They'll say,
yes.
yeah. Right.
Totally. You said something that was really incredible, and I have to say it again, and it's that if Amazon is promoting no resume, no problem, and they've made it that simple, we have to do that too. And not even just as industries and as the trades, are we still old school, expecting people to follow a certain process when technology has changed, right? And something I think is important and a very neat statistic to know is that 60% of your A players, like your superstar technicians and your superstar team players, are within 1 degree of separation from you right now. And so if you were going to go out and try to find new people to recruit to your team, right, 60% of your A players are within 1 degree, which means somebody knows them.
Somebody already knows them.
Somebody knows them, and somebody that knows them. And so we don't always have to go posting on LinkedIn and Indeed. Are we asking those around us? Are we asking our team to recruit? And the other thing with that is, are we writing our ads to the right person? Because everybody has somebody in their family that's griping and complaining about their job.
Yeah.
Don't we want those people to say, hey, here is a great job ad. Why don't you take a look at that? I love, go ahead.
Yeah, I've got to give you some examples. The first one is a little off color. Is it okay?
I don't know.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine. And it's not even my idea. If we're going to look for referrals, brilliant observation that people we're going to hire is within 1 degree of separation. Like, I know somebody and maybe they know somebody. That's really that tight-knit group.
Yes.
So I'm going to challenge everybody here, go post a job ad above the urinal.
Totally.
Yeah. And in the bathroom in general, right? And as the foreman who told me this, he goes, Dom, I got their attention twice a day for about 60 seconds.
Awesome.
Now,
totally.
Here's the other thing is, to your other point, which I think was absolutely on point, it's all about simple systems. I want to make my ideal employee just like an ideal client. I want to make it easy for them to get back to me. And so the other day, I was actually talking to one of my clients. They happen to be a very technical trade.
Okay.
And they're saying it's really hard to find people. It's perfect if we get them out of trades college, but it's very competitive there. And I said, well, show me the ad. Well, the ad was fine. And it was the old school 8.5 by 11 piece of paper with the little tear off strips on the bottom.
Yes.
Because that's how they would remember things. And I'm like,
yes.
Okay, that's great. That's great. But 2 things. Number 1, don't print it on white paper, because all the other job ads on there are printed on white paper. Do it in high-vis green or orange or that crazy pink. That's item number 1. But you want to get creative, put a QR code on there. Because my next 20-year-old employee is not going to tear the little tab off the bottom and call me later. No, they're going to scan it with their phone. So a QR code, folks, is that square with a whole bunch of squiggles and dots and blobs in it. But if you hold your camera up to it, it automatically goes to your website. And those, you can look up, this is nothing to do with anything I know, just go to free QR codes online, and there's a million QR code generators out there. There's no barrier to entry. But if you don't have that on there, that 20-year-old person is never going to apply, because they're not going to tear off the tab and call you later. It's not how it works.
Yep.
Get creative. Get in their heads.
Yeah, and that's so simple. And with that QR code too, in case anybody's not aware, you can make it go directly to the job ad where they can apply right then and there. It goes directly to where you want it to. Oh gosh, it's funny that you mentioned those pieces of paper, because I feel like I never see them anymore. But I saw one at our local, we've got a little brewery, the Dalton Brewing Company, DBC, and here in town, and it's like just this fun, nice little pub, and they've got family games in there. You can go and play games with your kids. So it's not like it's more like, well, it's a hangout, right? It's not really like a bar, like no kids allowed. But I saw one in there the other day. And so be creative with where you post them too. It doesn't just have to be in the supply houses. It can be where people are hanging out. It can be a Starbucks, the kind of people that you're trying to get to. Where do they hang out?
Yeah, it could be the wholesalers. Not everybody's happy with their current job. And the reason most people leave their job, by the way, is pride. I have been part of many, many companies doing exit interviews, which is something they never do. So when somebody leaves, we call them up and say, why'd you leave? It sounds weird. You're like, oh, the guy left and we didn't like him anyways. But from time to time, I will do the exit interview, and I'll call and I'll say, hey, Charlie, why did you leave? Blah, 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 blah. So, but it really comes down to, I wasn't proud. This wasn't a good team. It was kind of a sloppy mess. And I went somewhere else. You know what? They gave us t-shirts.
Oh.
T-shirts. Yeah, we have a uniform and a hat. And you as an owner and I as an owner might be thinking, oh my goodness, if I try to introduce hats and t-shirts, these guys are going to go through the roof. But
yeah,
people leave for pride. They leave for more than $1 an hour. They leave for more than 50 cents an hour. They stay because they want to be part of a team where they've got everything that a team needs, right?
Do you feel chained to your business? Like you can't ever seem to get ahead? Well, we have the solution for you. Check out Freedom Builders University. They work hard with small businesses to create freedom in their business and personal lives. Go to myfbu, as in freedombuildersuniversity.com.
Yeah, and that speaks to their value and who they are as a person. Not value like core values, but value as in they themselves. Everybody wants to feel valuable, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Internally, we all want to be liked and known and loved, and we all want to be valuable. And so if you're leaving because you didn't feel valuable and it was the pride part, and I don't hear people talk about that very often, as far as they couldn't take pride in the company. They weren't proud to go and say, I work at XYZ, ABC, HVAC, right?
Yeah. You just bring up something that's very important that I often overlook, is that maybe one of your problems in recruiting is that you have a cancer in the company right now.
Mm-hmm.
That I know we're talking about being short of people, but maybe one of the people you currently have is the problem. Yeah, it has to go anyway. Mm-hmm. Which sounds ridiculous, but I've got to make room. I've got to get rid of the good to make room for the bad. I got to get rid of the bad to make room for the good, right? They can go they can be good somewhere else. Mm-hmm. But right with us, they're not right on the team.
Yeah. That hits a nerve, because with the shortage, right? And I don't have enough technicians as it is. Yeah. I think that way too many companies fall into that category of, hey, I'm going to just put up with it until I find somebody else, and they keep putting up with it and keep putting up with it.
Yeah, but what's the impact on everybody else in the company? There's like, oh, there's Hector.
Well, and then people don't respect leadership, because they're like, how do you not see this? Everybody else on the company sees it. So then they're not respecting you as a leader because you're putting up with it. And that whole what you allow will continue, right?
Yeah.
It's that you're allowing that culture. And so it's going to be everywhere. So you have to purge, and it's difficult. I got a couple questions that I'd like to ask from a book that I've been
you have the
perusing.
Book.
I've got this little book on my desk. It's called Construction Millionaire Secrets by one Dominic Rubino. Wow. And in chapter 4 of this book, it's all about hiring your team. And page 88 specifically, it says to hire them right, train them right, lead them right, create and use simple systems.
Yeah. Yes. Well, thank you for reading the book. Well, listen, hiring, which part? Hire them right, train them right, simple systems. It all goes together. I'm running a team here, and our team gets hired to solve problems. My house is too hot. My house is too cold. I need a shed. I need a fence. Whatever the problem is, we go solve that problem with our team. So I need to build a team that can solve those problems. It's like your favorite football team, or maybe your baseball team, Danielle?
Well, the World Series was just won by the world's best baseball team. The Braves happens to be America's team. I know you're in Canada, but America's team is the Braves, and we just won the World Series.
Yes.
We're really excited about it. Well, since you asked, so for example, with hiring them, I'm not the first person to ask this question. You even mentioned it in the book is, well, what do you hire for? Do you hire for skill or for attitude, craftsmanship? What do you hire for? Experience. But, you say always choose attitude first, but the explanation behind that you use is I shouldn't have to teach you what you should have learned at your kitchen table growing up. And just the basics of having a good attitude and being a nice person, they should have learned that at their kitchen table growing up. These days, there's so many people that didn't. And I hate that. We got so many broken families, and that's its own rabbit's trail. And especially small business owners, it's easy to want to help people. And we want to hire people because we know that we can help them. But if we really are trying to create the right culture and be fair to our existing team and grow our company, I think it comes back to the question of, what do you really want, right? I mean, do you want to be a charity, or do you want to grow a company that's going to be a legacy for your kids and your children's kids, right?
Yeah, it's a heck of a lot of work. I mean, a lot of business owners work for what amounts to less than minimum wage. So
Yeah.
stop it. Stop it. Do something different.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
listening to your show, whoever's listening to the show has opted in. They've recognized, hey, I need something more. And so they think, hey, I'll listen to this show. Give me great new ideas. So congrats. If you're listening to the show, you're on the right path, hands down, right? Oh,
Totally.
my battery. I forgot to plug in my computer. So, you know, the creative recruiting goes back as well to culture, though, like who we are as a company. I don't have to post a long ad. You would expect that a business coach is going to say, oh, you need this huge value laden, really long application form. But if I'm trying to hire I have to think about the people I'm hiring. If you're running long ads now, run short ads and see what that brings you, because I can still push them through. There's a 2-step hiring or interview process that I use. And that interview process is made to put people through their paces. I want to see how they act and react. I know I'm not going to get everybody through to the end, but the people I get through to the end, I will be proud to put on my team, and they will be proud saying, that was the hardest interview I ever went through. But what I want them to do is at home at their kitchen table to say, honey, I think this is the job I deserve. I finally got the job I deserve. Because I want them committed. I want their spouse committed and happy. That, I have to build that.
Really cool. I want to stay on that. I don't want to lose that for a second. With the job ad specifically too, the importance of changing it up. If you're running long, go short. If you're doing short, go long. You have to change it up. But also going back to who are we writing it for, right? Somebody that might see it, and quit making it about us. As business owners, hey, we've been in business for 15 years. We're a family-run company, and we do this, and it's not about you. It's about them. So speaking to who they are and what they want in their future and what they want to be a part of. And so you have to go and tweak and change. I've got a friend of mine. She owns a plumbing company in Colorado, but she's also now a professional speaker and consultant. And so she's doing lots of things, but they've still got this great company, and they've been trying to find people for a long time, just like so many of us, looking for technicians. And she says, we had a job ad for 6 weeks running with a $10,000 sign-on bonus offer. She's like, and we got 0 applicants. And so they were, looking at it saying, what in the world, we're offering $10,000 and nobody's going to take it. And so then a couple weeks ago, they take the same ad, reposted it with no sign-on bonus offer, and they got 6 applicants over the weekend.
It's crazy.
It was a small change.
Yeah, you have to make the changes. I don't want to get too technical, but when I see an ad, I go through what I learned from my marketing mentors. It's always target, then offer, and then copy. And so I have to have the right target. Who's seeing my ad? Then the offer has to be right. So your friend there changed her offer. And then the copy is just what's written in the ad, right? It always goes target, then offer, then copy. So first of all, make sure you are targeting the right people with the right offer, and then whatever you write has to follow it. Can I give you a creative recruiting secret key that is it's getting used more and more, but people still don't know about it.
Yes.
So can I ask, you're in Georgia. What is the biggest immigrant community in Georgia?
Mexico.
Okay.
Well,
Mexico.
Dalton is the carpet capital of the world. And so,
textiles, right? Okay.
Right. Everybody comes over from Mexico and they work in the carpet mills.
Okay, great. And so is it Mexico or is it some other South American country?
Majority are Mexico, for Mexico.
Okay. So here's what
that's a good question, because in the trades, it's other. We've got a lot of Guatemalans and Venezuelans.
That's right.
In the trades.
Yeah.
In the carpet mills, we've got a lot of Mexico.
Let me just use Venezuelan as an example, because it's a slightly different Spanish for all of the different countries, right? Okay. Slightly different. But here's what I want you to do, and anybody listening, transfer Venezuelan to whatever the immigrant community in your city is. So if you have lots of Armenians, if you've got lots of Afghanis, if you've got lots of Greeks, whatever is coming over, I want you to do this. Go to Facebook. Find Venezuelans in Georgia Facebook group. Find Armenians in Chicago Facebook group, whatever that is. Hopefully you have somebody on your staff who is Venezuelan or who is Armenian, whatever the country of origin is, and get them to post your ad in their private Facebook group in Venezuelan Spanish, in Armenian, right? In whatever their language is, right? And now to that person, let me just use Armenia as an example, because for some reason that one stuck in my head more. Armenians in Chicago, I'm going to go to my Armenian, one of my Armenian technicians. I'll say, listen, I need you to run this ad for me. Can you do it? So get there, okay. Post it to your Facebook group, okay. For everybody that we hire through that ad, you're going to get a bonus for helping us out with that. And it's a couple of bucks, right? Maybe it's $300 for the first month they're here, but then another $600 after they stay with us for X amount of months. Well, that's significant. That's significant. And they're going to culture and nurture those applicants. But Facebook is a massive tool. So you can do that with Venezuelans in Georgia or Venezuelans in Chattanooga or whatever your big major center is. But you can do that with Armenians in Chicago. You can do that with Irish immigrants in another town, whatever you've got as your immigrant community, go and find a way to speak to them. You like that? Simple systems.
That's what we would call an aha moment. Aha, light bulb. Kicking myself because, wow, that's so easy. And I can't believe that we haven't thought of that before, because we're changing what we have just incrementally a little bit, not creating a whole lot of new, right?
No, nothing new.
Job ad, write it in the correct dialect.
Right.
Right. So, and then have somebody on your team post it in the right group.
You know
so
what?
Easy. And that costs you $0.
It costs you really nothing. Like even if I bonus my guy $900 over 6 months for it, it's nothing. But can you imagine if you're a mason and you bring in somebody from the Middle East who knows dry stone masonry? Oh, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
The skill level they'll have as a laborer is through the roof just from building their own walls at home.
Yes.
And now they're here and we've missed out on it. But they could also be engineers and architects who now have to reestablish themselves. And you're going to have a brilliant person. Brilliant.
Yes.
As long as their attitude is right.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for that secret. I feel like it was like this major bonus.
Boom. Juicy. Okay, good.
I liked it. I'll keep it. I hope everybody was listening with your pen and paper and wrote that down. If not, hit rewind and grab it again. Just a simple tool to start using today.
Thank you.
You know, if we can talk for a minute about process too. Let's say that we want to hire somebody because we know that we need another technician, or it could be an office manager, dispatcher, somebody. How often do we start looking for somebody and hire out of emotion? And it might, especially if it's a family member, maybe we don't even have a job ad written. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm answering all these phones. I'm so busy. I've got to hire somebody now. Who do you know? And then, yes, I'll take them. And you hire some family member just because they said, yeah, I'm willing to work. And then they get in that position, but it's not defined, because you didn't take the time as an owner to step back for a minute and strategize. Wait a minute. Do I really need this position filled? Can I justify it? Instead, you put a person on it based on an emotion. Does that happen, or is it just me?
Well, no, I mean, I've done it myself, right? We need somebody to answer the phones. Oh my gosh, this person's willing to answer the phones. I think what I've learned over time though, is we do get into trouble, especially when it's family members. And so now what I do is I would say, and Danielle, let's just say you were my cousin and I needed you to come in to fill this role. Let's just say for a bookkeeper, as an example. Danielle, I want to hire you for 6 months. And then at 6 months, we're going to talk about it on a 2-month rotation after that. Is that okay? Because I don't know how this position is going to look. So the expectation is look, this gig is only 6 months long. I'm going to make some sort of change after 2 months. It could be you, it could be an outside agency, it could be another bookkeeper. And I just want to be upfront. That's how I want to build this, because I don't know what the position is going to evolve into. And so maybe I bring you in as a bookkeeper, and that's working okay, but you really show your skills as a project manager. Am I going to keep you as a bookkeeper?
Of course not.
No. What if you don't work out as a bookkeeper in my company and you're my cousin? I'm going to say, thank you so much. You were such a help. We need to now start looking for another bookkeeper.
Yeah.
Right?
6 months up. Yep.
And the 6 months or 3 months is up. But that one of the mistakes is that people think that a job is a job forever, that you're guaranteeing them employment. No,
you're not.
No. I can't do that.
Yeah. That's an easy way to do it with conversation. Would you put, I mean, are you putting that in writing?
I'd have it right up front. I would do that before it even goes in writing. Like, Danielle, I understand you're looking for a job. Let's say you just came out of college, or you just moved into state, and you're trying to get your feet under you. I'm like, hey, we've got a 3-month opening. It's a temp opening, but it'll let you get your feet under you. It'll give me some help. And, you know, within the next 3 months, you could probably find something else anyways. I just ask you to give me 2 weeks notice. So I'll put it all on you. And then this is over in 3 months. Now, if you're working out really well, let's go for another 2 months. Let's go for another 2 months. I can deal with you for 2 months if it's bad, but you know, I really worry about what gets said around the family dinner tables.
Interesting.
Because I've fired my cousins before, and never did I turn out the good guy.
Of course not.
No, I'm, you know what? We don't say those words on this show, but suddenly I'm a very bad man.
Yeah. And that's not how it was supposed to be. Right.
No, it wasn't.
You were doing them a favor. They thought they were doing you a favor, or whatever the case. Yeah.
I now know why they were looking for work. Let me just say that.
Totally.
Yeah. So it's
Well, do you have a lot of cousins?
Hundreds. When my
Because you're
daughter was
Italian.
born, we're good Catholics. When my daughter was born, I think out of like direct relations, including people that married in, she was number 136 in the city I live in.
Good golly.
I know, isn't it great?
Well, that's why you're hiring all your cousins. That's difficult not to.
No, it was really bad. Like, one of my cousins was a paycheck drinker, and just made all sorts of very difficult situations for us. And I wish him the best, but he has to help himself. He continues not to, but
no, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you're, you know, again, hitting some nerves, because I know that you're not the only one, right? That's, many of us are dealing with that too, and have.
so hard.
Something that I am liking right now is what's called the job scorecard. And so if anybody is interested, shoot me an email and I'll send you my job scorecard. And what I am liking about it is it's forcing some of us more emotional entrepreneurs of, let's just go and build this thing and build it and they will come. It's forcing us to take a step back for a minute and really outline with strategy what it is that we need, so that we can justify it and hold people accountable, so that we can take the emotions out of it. It's like the importance of process. We have processes so we don't make emotional decisions. So this scorecard, if anybody's interested, shoot me an email and ask for it, and I'll get it to you right away. But it's just saying, hey, first let's identify the position, and we can do that by looking at our org chart. And I strongly encourage too the importance of having an org chart. And I'm sure that was you that taught me that, Dom. Let me give credit where that's due. That is, Danielle, do you have an org chart? No, you need one. Okay. So we get our org chart, right? Our organizational chart, and you write out all the people that are on your team, whether it's 3 people or 120 people, you get them all out there. And it's important for your team to know too, like who's in chain of command. That way there's process, they know who to go to. And then the importance of kind of taking a look at that organizational chart in 6 months. What positions are we going to need, so that we're not making emotional decisions? Here is where the job scorecard comes in.
That's right.
Right? I'm saying, hey, I've got this position that I'm going to need. I'm going to need this technician because we have this much call volume, and we're starting to, you know, the calls are booked for weeks at a time. And so we're just going to fill this out based on what's the position, what revenue do we expect this position to bring in? Is it a revenue position? Are they bringing in revenue, or are they saving the company revenue? Right? They can do one or the other, because otherwise we can't justify the position. And how much, and where should they be at in 1 week, in 3 weeks, in 6 months, right? That way we can hold them accountable, and we can go back, and in 6 months or in 1 week, when we have, hey, here's how your first week went. That way we have something, and we're going to fill out this job scorecard before they start, so that we can be in agreement. And then here's the other beauty of it. As a business, it's easy to want and hire out of emotion somebody to fix our problems, but we're not always, whether we're willing or not, sometimes we even forget our responsibility to support them in that, and to provide the correct training, and to provide the right processes for them and the tools or whatever they need. And so this helps hold us accountable too, that, hey, we told you that this was your responsibility and the expectation. And when we keep following that, we can go back and make sure we're providing them what they need to succeed. Does that make sense? Or did I botch it?
No, it completely makes sense. And it comes from the mentality or the viewpoint that you've taken here, which is, my people are the tools in the toolbox. You know, when we've got a service technician in the field, they have an array of tools in their toolbox.
Mm-hmm.
When we move into leadership positions, whether we're the dispatcher, or whether we're project manager or the owner of the company, our people become our tools, right? Like, you've got really somebody who's good at load balancing, and you've got a load balancing call, you send Hector.
Totally.
You've got somebody who's really good with heat pumps, or maybe electrical and plumbing, and then you send Julian, because he or she is the tool in your toolbox.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing. I have to use the tools in my toolbox the right way. And I love the way you just explained it. I thought you did great. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, good. Thanks. I think it's really valuable. And then all of us need to take a step back, because we do things out of, and for guys, it might not be emotions. You might not call it your emotions, emotional decisions.
Go with our gut.
Right. There we go. Gut.
Yeah.
And again, I can go back to scaling up. Statistically says, I know that when you make a hire based on your gut, I think that the failure rate is over 60%, if that's right. But if you do it based on strategy, going back to kind of like the scorecard, then the success rate is 90%. And that's a big difference.
It goes right back to thinking of our employee as a second customer. I have to, and hopefully people don't have this challenge, but are you intentional about the kind of clients you want to get? If you do commercial HVAC, you're going after different clients than residential, water heaters or water softeners and heat exchangers. It's a different thing, right? So we have to think about the ideal client, but then I have to think about who's my ideal technician. And I've got to hire for that unemotionally. So that's why I love your job scorecard, because I'm going to sit in front of somebody who spins me a good story, or who I just feel in a good mood about today, but I go look at the scorecard and they're like, oh, I forgot to ask if we're able to do a screening. I forgot to ask them about their DUI. Well, they need to be able to drive, right? I forgot to ask them about that interesting tattoo. What are my perfect customers going to say about the tattoo that goes around their ear and under their nose? Right?
Trying to visualize what that one
I know,
looks
I'm
like.
trying to make it a crazy tattoo. But on some crews, that might be fine. If we're doing institutional installations of units at hydroelectric dams, that's probably fine. But if I'm going into somebody who is frail, home alone, and a little bit afraid, I have to be able to present people who look a little bit different. And I will not take any blame for that. If you get a tattoo on your face that goes under your nose, you've got a lot of things to explain to a lot of people. So, it may not be the right service technician for us. But I have to think about that in advance and then score myself against that list, even if they're the most charming person in the world.
Right. Yeah. It's easy to be sitting face to face with somebody across the table and like them. And we hire because, hey, we get along. They laughed at my jokes. They're going to be great for the team. But there's got to be more strategy behind it.
Oh, there's so many jokes I can make about that. But hasn't it happened? Like, you hire somebody and you think, like, you hire somebody that you think is just awesome, and then the person that shows up, you're like, what happened here?
Oh yeah.
And in that case, it is time to cut now. Cut them fast.
How would you do that? Could you give us an example? Because we've heard hire slow, fire fast.
Right.
So we find out, hey, this person doesn't seem like who they were on the interview, but wait, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I should give them a little bit more time. Yeah.
So first, if you're in an at-will state, it's a lot easier.
Yes.
But the expectation has to be set up front that there's a probationary period. And during that probationary period, we're going to assess you on X, Y, and Z. And then my job as the owner is to do it or make sure it's done.
Yeah.
And then if they don't cut the mustard, it's not going to get better after probation period's over. Let them go. And that is so hard to do.
It is.
It's so hard. I've had contracting gigs where I'm behind already and I'm letting people go and I'm thinking, I am the biggest idiot in the world. But that person's not right. You're wrecking the team. I'd rather go to the homeowner and say, hey, we just can't, we're going to be a little bit longer than we thought, but quality takes precedence. That person was not cutting it. And I don't know what the owner actually thinks, but they say to me, okay, thank you, if that's what you think is best. Now, they might go inside and go, oh, Dominic, he's killing us. It's taking forever to do this job. But yeah, I'm going to have quality. I'm not going to have a bad person on the team.
Yeah, there's too much at stake. And your reputation as a business too, and your referrals and reviews and all of that. Yeah, so much.
Yeah. Attitude is everything.
It is. I think we could talk about this for hours and hours and days. What do you have any other secrets that we need to share before we end our time together when it comes to creative recruiting? You've already given us a wealth of knowledge, and maybe it's just a tip on something or a book you're reading.
You know what? I'm going to do this because I think you've done a really good job of pulling out some info for me, but I want to say this, and I want it to come across from a place of love and respect.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have a problem on your team, if there's a cultural problem, if there's just not a good fit, if the team's not jiving, I have to look at me as the owner, or you have to look at yourself as the owner, because it all starts with you. Mm-hmm. And so personal responsibility as the owner is something I show everybody. So I need to be the kind of person who takes responsibility and ownership for my actions. But if I'm the kind of leader who places blame, mm-hmm. makes excuses, I'm negative, I'm in denial, I see the world through the eyes of scarcity, then I'm going to attract those people, and I'm okaying that behavior. Mm-hmm. And so maybe the problem in the business is you, which is fine. Those things can be changed, but you can't yell at everybody else to change if you're doing the opposite.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
So good.
Yeah. The Oz Principle is the book that came from, although it is a study from the University of Melbourne, from the 70s. It's old. It's old, but I've been teaching that for over 21 years now. It really has to do with the attitude mm-hmm. of the owner. Sorry.
Yeah. Living above the line or below the line.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, you've read it.
Well, and you've taught it
to
me.
Maybe you learned it from somewhere.
Yeah. I might have, and shared it with a lot of people. I had the privilege of hanging out with some college students at the local state college the other day. And so I was really excited. They're like, hey, Danielle, will you come talk about entrepreneurship to these college students, right? And I'm thinking, yeah, college students, they're paying to be there. They're going to be motivated. They're going to be so excited to be in my class. I can't wait. And I get there, right? And it was in the evening, and it was a rainy night. So it's like Wednesday night at 6:00, and it's raining outside and it's dark. And, I've got this room full of college age was 19, 20, 21, 22 years old. And they're all like, don't want to be there.
Slumped in their chairs,
you guys are
texting.
Paying to be here, and you don't want to be here. But I was real excited because I said, if I could teach you anything, I'm going to teach you the Oz principle, living below the line or above the line. And so when you're looking at your career and your future and where you want to go, what kind of attitude are you going to have? And as leaders, if you don't know about the Oz principle, look it up or reach out to Dom, and he can send you some resources on that. I know you could.
Yeah, for sure.
Totally. But it helps us to be able to check ourselves too. Am I being negative and viewing the world in scarcity, or am I being positive and being the right kind of leader? And then on my team, are people going down below the line, or are they being above? And it's an accountability line that we can hold them to move them. So anyway, I talked about it in the class at the college, and it went really, really well, and they loved it. And afterwards, they're like, this is so helpful. And I was like,
how come they haven't been shown that before?
Okay.
Right?
And
why
simple.
aren't we showing that? Yeah.
So simple. Why aren't we? You're right. And it's just going back to the basics. And people want to be valuable. They want to help. They want to serve. They want to have a great career. Majority of them do. I still believe the majority of people are good.
Yeah. Yeah. And the ones that don't are probably not going to make it on my team.
That's right.
Yeah. But I agree, the majority are good, and they want to be shown how to be a contributor to the team, even if they understand, okay, when I'm in the company, it's all rah, rah, and they leave and do their own thing. But when they're in the company, this is who we are. This is what we stand for. People want to be proud. You want to go to a school you're proud of. You want to be on a sports team you're proud of. You want to go maybe be a member of a congregation you're proud of, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. So why would it be different at work?
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm. That's right. And so as a leader, taking a look at what is it that we're giving and offering and providing for our employees.
Right. Yeah.
The uniforms is a big deal. It was so stupid, but I'd wait 90 days before I'd pass out uniforms to my team members. We just create, 90 days probation, you get all your stuff at 90 days. And for years we did that, and it was so stupid. And finally I had somebody say once, it was training or whatever, and I was like, hey, why don't you have your uniform shirt on, because we have training going on here. They're like, well, I would, but I don't have a shirt yet because I haven't been here for 90 days. And the sass remark I was like, oh,
I'm not part of the team yet.
I'm not part of the team yet. And I didn't realize that I was really putting a wall up between the new people and the old people. And so two things that I changed. One is, hey, when people start, they get their gear, right? So they can be a part of the team. And the second was with our onboarding process. And I think this is important for what we're talking about today, is with new employees, when the first day that the new employee shows up on site, what is your onboarding process to integrate them into the team? Do you just say, hey, here's your tool bag, go out and work? Or how are you training them? And so having an actual agenda for their first week, here's where you're supposed to be, here's what you're doing, here's who you're meeting with for the first week. So they can feel like, oh, okay, good, there's a plan, because they're already nervous, right? It's first day. So then they've got a plan, and have them mirror and shadow and do ride-alongs with the different employees on the team each day and have it scheduled out so they can get integrated right away. I found that to be incredibly helpful.
It's so
to get
important.
rid of that wall.
It seems so simple, but people love, this is going to sound so crazy, Danielle. People like making tick boxes and little ticks in little boxes. So have I been trained on the software yet? Like the new flat rate, the menu pricing? Yes, I've been trained on it, but they're going to look forward to, oh, when do we get to get trained on this? When do I get to learn how to, what our standard is for, I don't know, asking somebody for the alarm codes if they're not home. Okay, now I've learned how to do that, where to enter that in the CRM. I have to show them that so that I can't get mad at them later for not knowing.
Right.
And I have to know menu pricing so I can give them all the options with all of the pop-ups. Otherwise, they can't do what I've hired them to do. So there has to be an agenda, and that gives you consistency, and that gives you as an owner calm, peace of mind.
Yes. And don't be the bottleneck as the owner. Don't think that you're the one that needs to come up with that schedule for the onboarding. Oh, I've got a new employee starting, I have to train them. No, you don't. Instead, you go to your dispatcher or your customer service rep or whoever's answering the phone. Hey, this person's starting in our company. What should their first week look like? I mean, any of your existing employees know what they experienced when they started, and they can give you a lot of ideas how to make that better.
I hate to do a shameless plug, but we kind of outline that in the book.
Oh,
the job site rules.
This one?
Train them right, hire them. If people aren't looking at the YouTube video, we're
Construction Millionaire Secrets by Dominic Rubino.
But I do outline. That's right. I do outline what you need to do there. And people can listen to the podcast as well and hear me talk about it again and again and again.
Awesome. And well, tell me, are you just doing Profit Tool Belt podcast, or do you have two right now?
I actually have two. So I specialize in construction trades. So one podcast is called Profit Tool Belt, and the other one is very specific. And people can guess at who the audience is of this second one when they hear the title. The title of the second show is Cabinet Maker Profit System.
Awesome.
Yeah. And that all started because I was speaking a lot for an industry association, and you record a presentation, then it gets turned into a recording. And I thought, why don't we make it a podcast? So anyways, that one's taken off and it does great. But Profit Tool Belt is where all construction trades join in and listen to great guests, of which you have been a couple of times. And I think you're on the roster to be up again.
Yay. Thank you. I've loved being on there. It's an honor. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Yeah.
Hey, how can our listeners today get in touch with you can they get your book off Amazon, or would you like them to go to your website?
They can certainly get the book off Amazon. Absolutely. That's an easy way to get it. But also, since we're talking about creative hiring today, it's important. If you want simple systems, which is what I talk about in the book, go to the website. Can I say my website?
Yeah, please.
Oh, okay. So the website's profittoolbelt.com. There are a ton of downloads in there. And specifically in the people section, it's the two-step interview process. And then there's another one, how to hire for attitude. So there's at least 2 downloads that relate specifically to what we talked about today. And that doesn't even add in what people can get from you with that job scorecard, which is so powerful. There's a power to having a piece of paper because you don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Totally.
Right. So I urge people as well, Danielle, for them to come back to you and get your info too.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for those resources. Those are going to be really valuable. So be sure and get those downloads from Dom and reach out and grab a copy of his book. It's been awesome chatting with you today. Thanks for taking the time. I really appreciate that, and appreciate all the really cool ahas and simple secrets that you've shared with our audience.
Thank you.
Welcome to Storytime with TNFR. Today's story is about a contractor who saw a ton of success in his company. Listen in.
The maintenance was only a lead source for us. We were way underpriced on our flat rate. Every time we run a call, we lost $125. I guess in our justification, we use those as lead sources for replacement. Now we're just seeing that, well, we still got the replacement business, but now we've got all this other work that's being added on just through the flat rate. And the beauty is, the guys aren't selling it at all. The customers are picking it. So it's a no stress situation for them. I mean, it's a win-win.
And here's a clip from Kevin, one of Rodney's technicians.
Hey, I'm Kevin, and I'm here at the new Flat Rate Center. And I would like to say that the system actually works. As a technician, it gives you more options, and it's a great tool to have in your belt. Even if you are a salesman, this system makes a huge difference and makes presenting prices to a customer a lot easier. And the proof is really in the pudding. It works.
Have you seen any cool culture changes in your company since using it, for a month?
Everyone is way more positive now, and everybody is looking forward to the next day, it seems like. It's been a game changer in our company. I mean, it really has.
That's awesome. And then Rodney had said that you guys had, done some amazing service sales and whatnot. Can you tell me about that a little bit?
Yeah, we have, within the month of using the system, we have literally got ourselves behind, and we're trying to find more people because it sells the system really is doing all the selling, and it's creating more jobs, and it allows you to do more work and give a better job to your customers.
If you want to see success in your service company like Rodney, go to TNFR, as in the new flat rate, tnfr.us. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Have a platinum day.